Hello and welcome. This is rooflemonger, my friends. In today's video, we are here to talk about the secret lives of fighting game characters. Now, what exactly do I mean by that? Well, a lot of fighting game characters, what you see is what you get. They're pretty straightforward. That's one of the beauties of fighting games, right? Fighting game characters have very loud personalities that are very much in your face. That said, though, there's always a few little tidbits. Always some character behind the character, if you will. Like take Ryu, the consummate world warrior, the face of the genre. Sure, he's always on his quest of self-improvement and looking to fight everyone he can, but did you also know he's terrified of spiders? It's these kinds of little tidbits that just add a lot of extra fun and life into a lot of the characters in fighting games, and that's exactly what this video is. So we're going to be highlighting 10 different fighting game characters that have just a little bit of extra lore to them just to make them even more fun than they already are. So first off, let's start with Luke. Latecomer to Street Fighter V and potentially the face of Street Fighter VI. Luke is very much kind of like in the dude bro vein, and in that, he is a big time gamer, and well, that makes perfect sense. I could definitely see Luke being a gamer, playing a lot of games, streaming a lot of games. And given his attitude, I could definitely see him being the kind of guy who rage quits or, says suspect things. And of course, gamers being gamers, if you're watching this video, you're probably a gamer, right? Gamers are not only defined by the games they love, but the games they hate. And Luke hates horror games. So even though he's a Capcom character, probably doesn't care for Resident Evil, Silent Hill, all the metaphors go over his head, Fatal Frame, get that trash out of here. Luke is almost certainly your stereotypical gamer. He buys every new installment of 2K and Call of Duty every year. But horror games? No thanks. Next up, let's talk Kratos. Now, I know you're probably thinking, well, Kratos isn't really a fighting game character, and to that I say dead wrong. Kratos is in 3 different fighting game franchises. He's in Mortal Kombat, he's in Soul Calibur, and he's in PlayStation All-Stars. So if you're a character in 3 different fighting game series, you are a fighting game character. So what's Kratos' fighting game secret? Well, it's the fact that the fighting games, they happened. They're canon. He really did them all. What am I talking about? Well, let's move on to God of War Ragnarok.
Brother, I've heard my share of stories about your homeland, but I'd also heard that you once fought in a tournament.
I fought in many contests.
But this particular one, I heard you did battle with beasts, scoundrels, princesses, the undead, automatons, and history's greatest musician. That's not true, is it?
I would not speak of this.
So yeah, Kratos' romps and at very least PlayStation All-Stars are apparently fairly canon to the God of War universe. Nothing much more to say than that's just plain fun. Moving on to the King of Fighters, how about Shermie? So Shermie, French fashion designer, band member, pro wrestler, oh, and also one of the 4 heavenly kings of the Orochi, cult dedicated to a banished god looking to destroy the human race. So Shermie, wears a lot of hats. She has a lot of titles to work with. The thing with Shermie, though, that doesn't really get brought up, though, is the thing she holds dear above all else, and that is her hamsters. Shermie is absolutely obsessed with hamsters. Like, say, in SNK Gals, Shermie gets a wish and she can do anything she wants, and she wishes for a new hamster cage for her hamster babies. She could have brought Orochi back to life, but instead, she picked her hamsters instead. In one of the secret endings in the King of Fighters 15, she's very terrified of Mamahaha, the hawk of Nakoruru, because, well, she's got to protect her hamsters. Shermie's hamsters are her top priority over everything else. Like, yeah, sure, cults, dead gods, human extinction, those things are all cool, but hamsters in the end are number 1. Now, keeping with King of Fighters and keeping with Shermie's group here with the Orochi, we have Vice. So Vice is one of the meanest, most foul-tempered fighting game characters of all time. Absolutely vicious and brutal. And what's her favorite thing to do when she's not out to destroy the human race? Well, she's all about American comic books. And specifically given the time frame she debuted in and her personality, I bet she was all about Carnage and Spawn in the mid-90s. It's a very odd trait to be sure considering the character and her goals, but it is her officially listed hobby. Like say Falcoon, who's worked as an official SNK artist many times, does all sorts of characters up in serious ways, and then when it comes to Vice, Vice, maybe the single most vicious character in the whole franchise of King of Fighters, is wearing a SpongeBob shirt. So Vice is all about murder, death, and mayhem, but she's also just a really big fan of American culture, apparently. Now, moving on to Mortal Kombat, let's talk Tremor. So Tremor, terrifying Earth Elemental Ninja Man, member of the Black Dragon, just all around nasty dude, but one thing he is a fanboy. In the Mortal Kombat universe, Johnny Cage gets a bad rap basically for all of his movies. Everyone kind of dunks on him for the movies. But no, not Tremor. Tremor, he's a fan.
I enjoy your movies.
They're good, aren't they?
I will enjoy this more.
You're gonna like this.
I'm blessed to fight Johnny Cage.
Congratulations on winning the lottery.
So not only is Tremor a fan of Johnny Cage's movies, when he gets to actually fight against him, he considers himself blessed. No two bones about it, Tremor is a Johnny Cage superfan. Now, speaking of Johnny Cage superfans, we're going to talk Jacqui Briggs, but she's a superfan in a different way. In what way? Well...
Don't speak to me ever. I just said your dad's kinda hot. Stop it! I just said your dad's
Hot. Stop it!
So Jacqui kinda a fan of the older men, and you know what? That's a trait that's even with other fighting game characters. Laura Matsuda in Street Fighter V, also a fan of the older men. Moving on to the world of Tekken, so Nina and Anna Williams, infamously always at each other's throats. They're almost like Tom and Jerry, you know, just always trying to kill each other. And you know what? There's something to that, actually. Because when we rewind time a little bit and look at some of the older documentation of the characters, turns out they're actually big fans of Tom and Jerry. Specifically, Nina is a big fan of Tom, and Anna is a big fan of Jerry. And you know what makes sense? Nina definitely sees herself as like the hunter, the professional, the assassin, and Anna, well, basically sees herself as the hero. And, well, Anna just plain likes messing with Nina all the time. So you know what? Nina and Anna as Tom and Jerry, I think it actually fits pretty good. So now let's move to Zangief, one of the icons of the entire fighting game genre, and you probably well know a lot of the things he loves, right? He loves pro wrestling, he loves fighting bears, he loves Mother Russia. But one of the things he dislikes is not as widely known. Zangief hates beautiful women. And no, not in like a weird misogynist way, he's just not a fan of pretty women. Now, what exactly does that mean? Well, you're going to have to do your own reading into it. Women are a distraction. He's got a lot of things to do. You know, if you got to hit the gym, get the gains going on, you don't want all these pretty women around you distracting you from your main goal of just working out with the boys. You know what I'm saying? So come to your own conclusions. There's never been any official statement on anything other than Zangief simply is not a fan of pretty women. How about the world of Guilty Gear? Sol Badguy. Turns out Sol, he's a lot of things, including the titular Guilty Gear himself, but he's a big music fan, and specifically, he's a massive fan of Freddie Mercury. Yes, the Freddie Mercury from Queen. The Guilty Gear world is set in our world up until, well, things go a little bit weird. And wouldn't you know it, Sol Badguy's real name is actually Frederick. So Freddie Mercury and Sol's Frederick, that's pretty cool. Now, of course, Freddie Mercury's real name isn't Freddie Mercury. His real name is Farouk Bulsara, but then again, wait a second. Sol's real name is Frederick Bulsara. Huh. That works out, doesn't it? And finally, keeping with Guilty Gear, I do want to talk about Testament. So Testament, in the course of the Guilty Gear franchise, definitely had some attitude changes, going from like grimdark edgelord to the more happy-go-lucky form, right? And the thing is, with Testament, it's not so much like any one of their favorite things that stick out, it's simply the amount of their favorite things. Fighting game characters are usually listed as liking one or two things. Testament likes fashion magazines, do-it-yourself collecting makeup, making plastic models, especially giant robots, visiting tourism sites, fishing, ceramics, river trekking, road biking, viewing opera, weight training, fortune telling, bonsai, gardening, watching wrestling, baking, mahjong, painting, and doesn't paint very well, embroidery, mountain climbing, nail art, golfing, stargazing, touring hot springs, board games, writing science fiction novels, barbecue, belly dancing, beach volleyball, watching baseball, making doll houses, liquor, no, they don't drink, snowboarding, so, not like Perry Caravello, right? Watching Shark B movies, collecting occult goods from stores, picture diaries, basically a whole hell of a lot of stuff. So the idea is, in the story anyways, Testament stopped being a grim loner and wanted to head out and enjoy the world, so now their hobbies are every possible hobby. And that is just some examples of literally hundreds of possible fighting game characters and a lot of little fun lore. Fighting game characters are so much more than just the functions of the game, right? You slapping buttons together and hitting the enemy. Fighting game characters have tons of lore and personality, and that's always been one of my favorite things about fighting games. From the smallest possible stories to the grandest arcs, like say hunting the literal Satan shark itself. So that all said, I hope you learned some fun things about fighting game characters because they're some of the best characters in any genre of game, and we're at the end of the video. So thank you very much for watching, hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some fighting games.